P&R with Adam R. Welcome to 3P&R. I'm your host, Adam R. And with me again tonight is Don and Laynee from Spectra Waves and soon to be Dave from Chicago Paranormal. Don, Laynee, glad to have you on again. We'll dive right in. We were talking about Skinwalker Ranch before we started. Don, continue on what you were saying because that's caught my interest.
So, we've watched a few of the episodes on History Channel, and Laynee's watched more than I have. But it just seems to me, and I'll just put it out there, is that it seems to me that whole area is contaminated. And why I say that is, the nuclear tests were done in Nevada, and downwind of the jet stream generally is where that ranch is in Utah. And, everything that they talk about being hurt and about, feeling effects of things. I'm not saying that the topsoil is necessarily still irradiated, but I do believe they have this big thing that they say don't dig into the ground.
Right.
And so here's what I say is that just from looking at it, right, I would definitely say that that whole base part of that of the dirt and ground and stuff is all probably heavily radiated. That's the first thing that I would say, right? And there was an interesting point that they had made. What was the name of that magnet, Lanes?
Oh God, to pronunciate that, what is that? It's very hard to pronunciate.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that thing is, what it's called,
let me check really quick.
Laynee had always does research.
Are you talking about a Geiger? You talking about a Geiger? No. Okay.
No, it's actually a magnet. Okay.
It's a rare earth metal.
What is it? It's like a neodymium or
very
something
close
like
to
that.
I'll get the pronunciation or the spelling on that really quick.
Yeah. But, effectively, right, is that they did a stand-up experiment where his phone was being affected. And so he had figured out that the same effect from the phone was the same effect that he had gotten from this magnet. And if Laynee looks it up, we can figure it out. But and Laney's really into stones and into effects of plates and things that were designed under the auspices of Tesla. So she actually recognized the magnet like right away.
Which is really quite interesting that a rare earth metal like that can actually manipulate equipment, especially just a phone or a camera.
Right.
And that's actually really good for us to know too, as well.
Oh no, absolutely. Yeah. So, and that's my thought on it is that I think deep in the soil, I think it's heavily radiated. And, I know that they were doing tri-field meter things up on the ridge, where you turn in one direction and, it's like in the middle of the ranch. You turn in one direction, there's nothing. But we did notice, though, see, this is the one thing about investigations, right, is that he had a tri-field meter. We actually have that same meter. It's the digital tri-field. And he had it set to RF. For the life of me, okay, I don't really get, they were getting spikes on RF, but I don't really understand why you would have the tri-field meter under RF. You're there with guys with walkie-talkies. You're there with a crew, right? That would be the last thing I would select with RF. Just because of the fact that, you've got, we're bombarded with RF every day. I don't care if you're in the middle of the desert or not.
Yeah. I had a conversation with Dylan Jones from England. He's a parapsychologist. And one of the things he said to me is about people knowing their equipment. It's one thing to buy it and you have an idea what it does, but like you're saying, is making sure it's working adequately or knowing how to work with it adequately.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is that see, we, if it's equipment that I don't have, of course, I'm not going to comment on it, and maybe Dave feels that way too, but if it's equipment that I have and I know what the equipment does, and how it works, is that then, of course, anytime that you're going to see anybody trying to, do evidence and show evidence, right, I'm going to look at what you have selected. Are you doing electric EMF? Are you doing magnetic? Are you doing, weighted magnetic? I mean, there's, especially in that tri-field meter, there's a bunch of variables there. And I couldn't understand why he would do it RF. It doesn't make any sense to me when you have a camera crew around you. It just doesn't.
I mean, if he does it in RF, would it give like a lot of false positives, maybe to make it seem more exciting? Is that possible?
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you what is that goes back to exactly what happens with REM pods, is that on REM pods, when you set them up, if you're within probably, I don't know, 10 feet, 15 feet of the REM pod, so you could be out of camera shot with it. And if you key a walkie-talkie, it'll make the REM pod go off.
Huh.
That's the other thing that I say all the time, that when we post evidence that we know in our heart of hearts, we don't have walkie-talkies. We don't bring them with us just for that reason. So we do the old school thing. Laynee's on the second floor and I'm yelling.
That's the way it should be done, right? You'd want nothing to have an interference on your equipment. I would imagine that's the way you'd want to do it. You got to make room though. These TV shows, I know they need excitement. I know they want to get viewers. Unfortunately, it's irresponsible because you get people that wholeheartedly believe they want to get out there and research, and you're giving, I don't know, it's like giving like a false hope almost.
Right. And the name of that magnet was neodymium.
NEODYMIUM.
Huh. And so,
Laynee, what does that thing do?
Yeah, what does it do? Is that you had done research on that magnet?
Well, just like a lot of other magnets that they have, it can go ahead and have therapeutic effects for you. So if you're in a lot of pain or you don't have a lot of blood flow, a lot of people do use these rare earth metals to help with the blood flow, to help to alleviate some pain that they do have. And this one is very, very powerful.
That's like those bracelets. You remember those bracelets that had magnets in them?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing that.
What was that? Shungite? Shungite?
Something like, they fell away. I don't see that at all. I used to see it constantly, and then it just was gone. Not advertised anymore.
Well, because they used, magnets that you use for your refrigerator.
Oh, I see. I don't know the difference with the magnets as far as healing, but I have to look into it. The thing that gave me pause with Skinwalker is I didn't realize how many people actually were getting sick there. I thought that was like some sort of nonsense for the show to make it more exciting. And then you read about all the people that have gone there over the decades. They've gotten ailments.
And I'm going to tell you what, just based on what they showed and what they talked about, right? Because they wouldn't let them dig and they wouldn't let them do test samples of the soil. So that tells me something, right? That billionaire who owns it is like, oh, no, nobody's digging anything. And nobody's, we have to dig down, like 1.5 feet to get test samples. And we want to see if there's benzene in the soil and stuff. Oh, no. Well, I'll tell you what, one of the only linkable thing that's in the world to leukemia is benzene.
Huh.
And ultimate radiation, like a radiation leak from a nuclear power plant. And so how many tests, I don't even know how many tests they did in the Las Vegas desert when they exploded the atom bomb above the soil.
Countless tests. Yeah.
Is that so that doesn't clear up in like 50 years, and nobody really talks about that. And I'm not really here to, to debunk things. I mean, if people want to purvey the fact that it's a landing site from, for aliens, and maybe there are some things that, maybe aliens are attracted to that area,
if nothing more, probably for what our attraction is for study, right? Because I don't know if I brought it to you last time, but I imagine if aliens made it here. They have that technology. One, to be biological wouldn't make sense. You would definitely be like, and I have this belief that they're an advanced biological robot with a consciousness upload and or being controlled further away. So then they're here watching us. And as they're watching us, they detect this other entity, a spirit, a ghost, if you would. And they're probably like, what the hell is that now? We got to study this, right? So, I mean, that's one running theory. Two, I think that guy's got a good thing going there, that billionaire, right? That's a good little scapegoat.
It is.
Yeah.
I think it totally is.
Yeah, he knows if they dig, they'll get sick. So he's like, look, we can't dig there because you'll get sick, and I don't want to get a lawsuit. But for the show's sake, it's because you don't want to disturb blah, 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 and it'll cause a big problem, right? So it kind of works for him.
That we always have problems when we dig. I mean, I don't, is that, and think about this. This is one of the things that I think about all the time with shows, right? Is that, they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere. There's like 512 acres and, and there's one old house that's on the property,
right?
Which was like probably turn of the century, maybe, for that house. And then there's a new house, and then there's like an adjacent barn to it, right, Laynee?
There is,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. So, and there's different structures that are on the property, in addition to, people who live there until what, 70 or 92 or something?
Yeah, but I thought someone still does live there, or was the
Can you hear me now? Or?
Yeah, we hear you, Dave.
Okay,
yeah, we hear
just
that.
making sure.
Is that so? Yeah, well, the family sold it to that one billionaire who still does aerospace stuff.
Oh, Robert Bigelow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Bigelow sold it to this guy who I don't even remember what his name is.
The thing with Bigelow is this guy is hell bent on finding, whether it be aliens, ghosts, him. He's out to find something. And here's where I kind of get a little suspicious. If he sold it and gave up on it, it makes me wonder if there's anything really fantastic going on there, or is it what you think it is? I'm leaning towards what you think. I think there might be some fallout or some abnormal thing going on beneath the geography of that place.
Right. And let's just say this. Okay. And this is one of the things that always pops into my brain when I watch things about, whether it be just really a bad third-rate documentary about a site, or, History Channel puts on a show about something, is that the one thing that I think about, right, is that first, he doesn't want to dig. And the second thing that he doesn't want to do, or the second thing, think about this. They had to put those houses up. They had to put the family that was there prior, right, had to put cattle pens up. So they had to dig into the ground. They had to lay concrete. They had to lay foundations. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean,
you can get a whole mystique going.
What ends up happening is they're digging in there. They're getting some form of poisoning or something into their stream, right, and they're starting to hallucinate.
And I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. Is that I really truly believe that the soil is poisoned at a deeper level. And, and we all know, right, if you're subject to radiation poisoning, okay, you can get dizzy, you can hallucinate, it can cause lesions. And it's the same thing if you're inundated with electromagnetic field that continues to leak from power lines. Is that now you don't know how the power lines were sent there.
Right.
And where they're, are they up on top? I don't remember seeing them up on top. So that means they're buried.
Yeah. Another big thing in that show too. Look, and I'll admit I got sucked into it, but
yeah, I did too.
Yeah. But here's the problem, though. When I watch these shows and I see how, like the geologist, I don't recall his name. He's an investigative geologist, and I don't know, like if I'm that guy and I go there, I'm like, well, I need to dig, so I need to study, et cetera. And they're saying no. Well, I'm like, all right, well, I got to go then. What am I doing here? I'm not
right. That guy who's the astrophysicist and stuff,
Yeah. I mean, like,
is that because he brought up some valid points, and right away, the guy who's poo-pooing the whole thing is the security guy.
Yeah. What's that guy's deal, man? He's weird.
Well, he's like Uncle Fester with hair.
Yeah. Like, let's say this, man, if I have money, that's not my security guy. Like I cannot have an emotionally unstable person watching my 6 o'clock. You know what I mean?
Well, because he dug. That's what happened.
Yeah. So he dug in there. It's over. He's brain fried.
That's it.
Yeah, because his behavior to me is like, what is this? This guy can't be a real security guy. And I think they tried. Didn't they say he was like former military?
I don't recall, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't recall either. I remember him having some sort of background that gave him the ability to be a security person. But if I'm a billionaire and I have a place as popular as that, I'm hiring some Navy SEALs. And they're not going to have a weird personality. They're not going to be emotionally unstable. They're going to handle business. That's their job. that guy's involvement as a security guard, that was another line I drew. I was like, there's no way. Get out of here.
Yeah, I'm telling you, is that, but yeah. But, just like I'm sure, Dave knows too, is that, one of the core tenets of investigating, properties that are haunted or areas that are haunted, right, is, you take baseline readings, for EMF. And I mean, if you have any kind of leakage, from that, and, there's been a couple of houses that we've done, private investigations, and we made an absolute point that if they were seeing things in the bedroom, you would go plug to plug. We would go plug to plug to actually make sure that any devices that were plugged into that plug or the plug itself, because a lot of these houses are older.
Yeah, and you don't want false readings.
Well, and but that's the thing is that you get spikes on the EMF meter that you can replicate by you move the meter away, you bring the meter back to to the outlet, and if you're pulling down 26.5 and it's on a consistent basis, and somebody sleeps by that plug, I'm telling you, is that you can experience a lot of things, because of that electromagnetic activity there. That
I agree 100%.
Yeah,
right, Dave?
Oh yeah, 100%. I agree.
That's a big deal with living under power lines too, right?
Oh yeah, sure. Because if you get if your neighborhood was wired and they were buried and they I mean, how many sinkholes? I mean, you're in Florida.
Yeah, this place, forget it. Like, you never know where it's going to pop up. It just happens.
So when they buried those wires, right? They buried them, and then half of it was swampland that was filled in, and Everglade kind of areas that were filled in. How deep you think they really went?
Not very.
Is that yeah? And so that's my whole chagrin with things like this. Is that you can have lights in the sky.
Well, Florida's just crazy. Really everything crazy happens here. I don't know why, but it does. Everything crazy happens in Florida.
Because the Bermuda Triangle's right there.
I'm going to assume because, I mean, when I first started talking about doing a documentary, I got excited. Like, I'm going to travel the country. And then I figured, I could start in Florida, live here. And then you look up Florida and all the abnormalities here. It's crazy. It's insane. I would be here for 10 years in my own state before I got to leave.
Right. But is that and not to poo-poo your whole because I know you're really intrigued by the Skinwalker Ranch. I'm just giving you my perspective of because we did want to do a little bit.
Well, no, it's not about
before we came back on the show.
I'm glad you did because listen, I didn't watch that show until maybe a week and a half ago, and I'm going to be honest. I got the 3 episodes. I'm done because again the security guy, the geologist being shut down. This weird billionaire flying in on a helicopter with a briefcase and then when he opens it, it's just nonsense. And I was upset. I'm like, there are people who dedicate their lives to investigate this stuff. They're the real people. Get them on the show. Yes, it's not going to be exciting. It's not. Sorry, too bad. They're there to do a real investigation. They're not there to make America smile. I would prefer that they would gather data and then have an hour special. And I would watch that. I wouldn't get off my seat. But that show, 3 episodes in, I was like, what the hell am I watching?
I know.
I mean, I watched it all, but I'm always skeptical, but I agree with you when it comes to the EMF. I did not catch, that was a good catch. I did not catch the setting on the EMF meter.
RF,
yeah. On that tri-field?
Yeah, on the tri-field, yeah.
Yeah, is that I made Laynee stop it. I go, because she was watching it, and I had walked back into the room, and I watched a little bit of it with her, and then I go, wait, pause that thing. And then I went back and I looked and I'm like, no, man, he's got it on RF. Why would he have it on RF?
You're going to catch all. Yeah, no, you're right on that. I didn't see that, but that was a good catch because, man, you're going to catch all the radio, all the waves, that are out there with the RF.
And all those
RF
guys
antenna.
are wired wirelessly.
Yeah.
Okay. So whether you're using UL, and now this goes back into my background, whether you're using ULXs or you're using the new version of the old Shure ULX, right? Or, or for that matter, if you're using Audio Technica, the FCC came in and they took away the big UHF bandwidth and they gave it over for 5G. So now there's a narrower bandwidth for wireless microphones, and all the old stuff doesn't work because it's all old 5G. It would be interfered with 5G. So it would connect and drop. It doesn't matter, even if you have two antennas and it's true diversity. But the new frequency that they have is a very narrow band of frequency. And I can tell you is that as an AV guy, is that narrow band of frequency is that if I take any tri-field meter and put it on RF, that thing's killing it no matter what. I can tell. I brought it to work. I know, so, and I did that intentionally so that when we did our, investigations, and I don't run any wireless mics. We don't wire ourselves up with a mic. It's usually the onboard mic that's on the camera. Mm-hmm. You'll notice that I don't use any external microphones. Can I? Sure. I'm totally capable of doing that. But I want to minimize whatever interference that we could possibly cause in that situation.
No, I gotcha. That makes sense. I'm
glad you say that because that makes it a real investigation, right? I mean, one, Don, you do what I do. I watch shows and I stare at the background. Well, I don't know why I'm like that. I'm always trying to find something. Two, I imagine watching these shows for all of you, when you're out there, you're doing these investigations and you see things like that. Like imagine a doctor watching ER. He's like, what the hell are they doing? Stop it. What is this nonsense? So I wonder if it's painful for you guys when you watch these on-show investigators. Because again, now that you say that, cameras, lapel mics, a number of other things that are transmitting something have to be interfering.
Yeah, I'm wondering with these shows, like way back when this equipment first came out, how much they use that evidence when someone was keying in a mic. It's like they cut in commercial and, you wonder if someone was keyed in a mic and they cut that out. Or, what Wi-Fi could set off a lot of stuff.
Dave, I bet you, I would lay you dollars to donuts that in the first couple of iterations and I had actually before Melmeters, right, mm-hmm. is that I made it a point to buy the identical equipment, that black EMF meter that ghost hunters used to use.
Oh yeah, I have that. I forget the model number of it, but I have that. That was one of my first ones.
Yeah, and a K2, right?
Uh-huh.
And I don't really believe in K2s that well. Is that we used to get a lot of false positives with them.
Yes.
And so, but is that we have both pieces of equipment. And I can tell you is that I did not, until we got a REM pod, I had no idea about that walkie-talkie keying issue. And it turned out that, where were we, Lanes? We were in Pennsylvania.
Was
right?
Pennsylvania, yes.
Yeah, so we didn't go on, they wouldn't do a private investigation. So we went to a group investigation, which we love so much. And just because we were in Pennsylvania and we wanted to experience at least one ghost hunt while we were there.
I gotcha.
And so we went to this. I don't even remember the name of the.
Was it the James Eldred house?
No, Eldred is in Illinois.
That was in Broadhead, was it?
No.
The only other one I can think of was the jail that was in Pennsylvania.
No, this was that farmhouse that was in Pennsylvania that we had to drive through the woods. I can't remember the name of the damn place.
My goodness, I think that was James Eldred house.
I don't know. I don't think it was. Well, anyways, long and the short of it is that, so we were there with a group of people and nobody had equipment except us, really. Mm-hmm. And so we set up the REM pods and we set it up in the one area and everybody kind of assembled in the room, right? Because they were all curious. And then they had another group, a secondary group that were upstairs when we were downstairs. And the guy called over the microphone. And when he called over the microphone, he, yeah, it went off. And then he was like, oh, and I go, do that again. He does it again. I go, well, I said, guess what? There's no ghosts touching this thing. So I shut it off, you know, but he said, and then it gave me pause about it. And then I'm thinking to myself, you know, I bet you in the early days, somebody figured it out and they were probably like, oh, that would be great for the show.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yep.
You know, is that we're going to key it. You're going to leave it there. I'm going to be off camera shot and I'm going to key this thing and it's going to go off. And then you guys react. Okay. Ready? On 3 and go.
Yeah, it wasn't just the millimeters. They would do. It wasn't just the REM pods. The millimeters. You know, anything sensitive like that would react to keying the radio, among a few other things.
You know, I'm going to tell you about this off-air. So I do these off-air interviews, and it's mostly for study and kind of give me a direction to go in. And this guy, let me give you the two sides of the coin for this too. This isn't the same day. First one was really interesting. Is a very sciencey guy. He didn't say what he did, but he's got this idea about how to capture energy. And, you know, of course, the kid in me, like, you mean like a photon pack? But
I knew you were going to say that
because I'm so obsessed with it. Right. But he's like, well, not, and here's how he answered. Not quite. So he's talking about something he could put into a room and it could pull like an energy source to it. And like, and I'm assuming by what he means by this, because his explanation is, I guess, once upon a time, Tesla had in his head that he's going to draw energy for our homes right out of the atmosphere.
Right.
And so on that same premise, he was talking about building something that would do it at a local level. And if there was,
I know you're going with this.
Yeah, if there's an energy in a room, it could pull it toward it. But the rules would be the lights would have to be out. You have to, in other words, the house would have to be powered off from the circuit box. So this way it didn't, you know, mess with the energy of the house. So I'm listening to this. And I'm like, holy shit, that sounds like a great idea. If you can make it happen, it's not as sexy as a photon pack, but if he could come up with something like that, I'd be super impressed. Just one thing, you sit in a house and it draws the energy source to it, and with certain lighting, you could expose it. And we spoke about this last time. Now this is something and the last time we spoke, it was like kind of like a funny little thought, but using like laser light or some sort of light, and then with some sort of mist, and the mist would help outline. Now he shot that down right away because something with this machine and water would not be a good thing. But that's what I wanted to get out of that. I get excited for that. But then flip side of the coin, the next interview I do thereafter, talking to this lady, it sounds really good until she's like, I can tell you who you were in 1904. I was like, well, I don't want to know who I was in 1904. I just want to know how I can manifest to see a ghost. I want to find a ghost. I want to actually see something. And
yeah, you know, talking about, I don't mean to interrupt, about the laser lights, the lasers, and then I've always wanted to use, I haven't yet, but I have it all set. Have you ever used the laser lights or laser grids with the fog machines?
I've had that idea for a long time, man.
Yeah, I have like 3 fog machines. I was going to use it when I was investigating that crash site I'm not supposed to talk about.
Well,
but,
you know, the thing is, you're talking about entities that are pure energy. And if you use a fog light and maybe some strobe lights or whatever lighting you can use to illuminate this thing, you would think that would happen. I would anyway, in my imagination.
Well, here's an interesting point, right? And Lainey and I were just talking about this literally earlier today, and Lainey found something. Somebody had like a little blog about this, and I'll take you back for a second. I was bored to tears last night, and so I watched for the first time 13 Ghosts, the original one from 1960.
I didn't see that.
Really a horrible movie. Okay.
Right.
So it's not, I mean, it's really 1960. I got to tell you, but one of the interesting things, I didn't finish it because I couldn't tolerate it anymore. My mind was going numb while I was watching it, but is that now you have to understand it was done in 1959. And there's one scene where the guy who's a paleontologist who it's his family that inherits this house from his uncle, who is a paranormal investigator, basically, and who has captured 12 ghosts from around the world, and they all reside in this house. That's kind of the premise. And so he's talking to his colleague at the museum, and his colleague is they found this book, and he's looking at this book, and it's all in Latin, and so he's translating the Latin verses that the uncle had written in this book about each ghost that he took, that he, and he said, well, and he believes that that he believed at the time that he could capture these ghosts because he could photograph them. So if he thought that if he could photograph them, that he could capture them. And he said, so he realized that you could see and photograph ghosts using UV. And I was blown away by that. I actually was like, when, and Dave, maybe is that because I don't know, is that when did, obviously somebody, whoever did research for this particular movie, right? And it's a movie, right? It's, it's fiction, and whoever did it, right? Obviously at some point they were a little bit off base from infrared to UV. I mean, UV is really strong wavelengths, and that's why you get skin cancer. But think about that. Like in 1959, probably when this movie was shot, is that somebody was already down that path and thinking about it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I never realized that. I mean, I didn't realize it goes way back.
I didn't. Wow. I didn't either. I was shocked, and I came up and I talked to Laynee about it, and then Laynee finds this blog, right?
Yeah, and who was that? Who wrote the
Barry
blog?
Fitzgerald from Ghost Hunters International.
Oh yeah,
and he wrote this this kind of op-ed about ghosts and darkness and UV. And why it's not a wise choice to use UV when you're, when you're investigating. And,
well, not if it's focused on you, but I imagine, like, you ever seen the movie Blade 2? Mm-hmm. And it had those UV flashlights. Like, maybe if you could focus it in the direction you want to focus in. I don't imagine it being harmful to you so long as it's not on you, right?
Well, here was the interesting thing, though, Adam, is that, and Laynee can corroborate this. She was the one who read it to me about this.
It would be harmful to the spirits or anything that's paranormal.
Because they would be hiding from this strong wavelength.
Yeah.
And so that's why when in his theory, when you see shadow people looking around the corner, well, the reason why they're looking around the corner is because they don't want to get hit with this light. And then his theory, in addition to that, is that's why you encounter so many more things when it's dark. Now, I know as an investigator, one of the first things that we learned, right? Because everybody has the same question: why do you investigate in the dark? And I think I brought this up before.
You have, but your answer is the best I've gotten yet.
But now this just gave me pause. It gave, is that first I'm watching a 1960s movie that's talking from 1960 that's talking about photographing entities using UV, and then this Barry Fitzgerald is saying, "Listen, don't you think? Doesn't it make sense that wavelength is so strong that they're hiding from us, that they're around corners, that they're peeking out from behind things because they're like, shut that damn light off already."
Yeah, I mean,
you mentioned that, and I got an EVP. I think it was an old gangster, but I have to look back. If I was using UV, I was using the combination of a lot of IR and UV. But in that room, I don't recall if I had a UV going on. But the voice goes, "Turn the lights off."
See?
It could have been maybe the UV you're talking about, or either that, it was IR.
Think about this, Dave.
Go ahead.
Is that if you're shooting in full spectrum, right? Part of that full spectrum is UV.
Right. Yes.
Albeit kind of a dumbed down UV, right? I mean, it's usually just more along the lines of kind of a black light kind of a thing. But again, I mean, what if he's right? Because all of those wavelengths have longer frequencies and shorter frequencies, right? So, I just thought it was an interesting theory, and ironically, Lainey and I talked about it today.
Wow. Yeah. I never thought of it. I never thought of it like that.
I'll tell you what. Think about what a scientist has to do for a living, right? He's got to invent things and come up with science. And it's not often that scientists start, comparing notes over fantastic ideas because they don't want to be ridiculed. But think about how many movies had these crazy concepts that later on became science. And I think it's because when a movie comes out with a fantastic idea, some scientist somewhere says, well, I wonder if this is something we could do. They work on that kind of idea, and then later on it translates to science, right? It's like what I always say. Today's science is yesterday's theory, and the theory of yesterday was the imagination of a child. So it's when I hear things about movies having these great ideas, it makes me wonder if we could apply it to science.
Well, and now I'm curious, right? So now I'm going to spend, an inordinate amount of time trying to figure out when the first mention of photography using UV or IR occurred in the paranormal community.
That's a good question. When did that happen?
Because obviously it was there. It was in the forefront in 1959 when they shot this movie. Somebody found out about it.
Yeah,
it wasn't easy to replicate because I know that they did have infrared film at that time, which was outrageously expensive.
Yeah, to investigate and catch photos in the paranormal. Maybe you're onto something here, man. I don't know. Talk Dave. Dave, if you give Dave the idea, there's a strong chance he's buying it tomorrow, right? That guy's got everything.
Man. I can't tell you what the holidays did to me.
I imagine,
Good Fridays, all them special sales.
I was talking to a friend about you. He was like, "Yeah, if anyone ever interview, man, how many people have real equipment? I mean, how many are really doing like this guy Dave? Literally has the Ghostbusters would be jealous of this guy's gear. It's like it's at that rate. It's crazy.
I'm afraid to even say anything because my wife might listen to the episode and then I'm dead.
I was just kidding, by the way.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Time to put a jump seat in the ambulance, Dave.
What about flash?
Yeah, there you go.
What about flash photography with UV, where it's not consistent light, just one flash?
I think that would just be blinding. I think that it would be. I don't think because you would have to that exposure to that would be overwhelming to the film.
Yeah, that's a good point. So it'd have to be a steady stream, at least 30 straight seconds and a series of shutter time, right? Because you would want to use film.
Well, and here's the thing. So this brings me back to homegrown stuff for us is that there's probably one of the most famous photographs from Bachelor's Grove of the lady.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
On the tombstone. And just as a little bit, Dave, do you know the backstory of that?
I've seen documentaries on it, but I'm just drawing a blank at the moment. But I've been told before, and I've seen it on TV shows and documentaries and YouTube stuff.
Right. So I'll share with your listeners what the backstory is. The backstory on that is it was taken in 1991, I believe. And it was Dale Kaczmarek.
Yes.
And his group were at Bachelor's Grove. The lady who took it had infrared film on a Nikon. And Mr. Kaczmarek actually has all the negatives from that picture. So for the whole session that they were there, she ran 2 rolls of infrared film, I believe. And he's got the negatives for every single one of those. So the picture before, the picture after, they were all, there was nothing there before, nothing there after. It was just in the one picture, but it was, and the interesting part, right? It was in the days before, high 8 cameras that could do night shots. And so it was actual film, actual infrared film that only a couple places at the time even processed.
Huh.
I didn't realize Dale had the negatives. I knew there was negatives out there, but I didn't realize he had them.
Yeah, the lady who shot it, because it was Dave's investigation, or Dale's investigation.
Dale's,
sorry,
yes.
Yeah, is that the lady who shot it? So Dale got all the negatives.
Wow,
and
that's
Laynee
great.
and I were fortunate enough to we visited with Mr. Kazmarek a couple of years ago.
A few times, yes.
Yeah, and we investigated with him once. And
I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah, well, he still sends us Christmas cards. So
I'm looking at that image now, and it's creepy. It's actually kind of creepy. I would be disturbed by that.
But and it's been proven, it's not been faked. Nobody was sitting there.
Well, that's what I'm reading now. They've had a numerous amount of people inspect this. This isn't some photograph they could put out there. Guys like, nope, it's mine. You can't look at it. He's had it. It's been looked at a lot.
Oh yeah, it's been published. It's been, is that, but like I said, we were fortunate enough to actually see the negatives and to see the negatives up on screen. He had processed through from a scanner. Right. And so you could go frame by frame by frame. And so we did get the opportunity to actually see it. So
that's outstanding.
Yeah.
For me to be afraid of something, I'm not going to use the word afraid because I don't want to say I'm fearless. Maybe I'm just stupid. I run into problems. You know what I mean? So that being said, there's been a few, we discussed this once before, the thing inverted in the hallway or the bathroom hallway or whatever it was. I still haven't found who that is, by the way. I cannot find that guy's name. I desperately want to get him on the show and speak to him. I've got to track him down. Because that's the one video I saw that I got chills from that. Because you could sense that guy's fear, the adrenaline.
Oh, is that the one they play on Paranormal Caught on Camera or something? Where the creature's inverted on the wall crawling?
Well,
or walking? Or?
It's not walking. This particular one, I'll have to send you guys a copy of it, right? It's just some guy. It's broad daylight. It's not nighttime. Broad daylight. And the full length version of this, the guy's in the house and he's doing chores or whatever, and he sees something and he runs out of the house. Like he panics. Then he turns his phone on and or whatever camera he had, he gets a camera on. He goes back in the house, and here's a big thing with me. And I see this in a lot of videos. People go in there, there's ghosts, it's scary, and they're perfectly still. I'm a pretty fearless dude. And when I dump adrenaline, my breathing will change. My heart rate's going to change. Fear or no fear, a chemical reaction, you're going to have your physical reactions to it, right? But in this video, this guy he goes in the house, he see it, and he's gone. He's out of the house, like nope, and you can hear the pitch in his voice is different. He's genuinely terrified. There's another video I saw, and this one was in Peru. And this guy was, I think he was playing with dolls. I don't want to make fun of him, but he was setting up figurines, right? These little figurines. He's setting them up in the corner there, and you could hear he's talking like he's doing the speaking parts for the different figurines. And in the background, something moves, and you hear him. He takes a breath because it shocked him, and he picked his camera, whatever it was. It dipped down and took off out of the frame. I didn't get you don't get a good look at it in the video, but. His adrenaline dump is he drops his phone and he runs out of the house. It doesn't get more real for me than that. The pet, you could sense that fear. So those are the videos that get me. Makes me think something otherwise. And then right after I see a video of a gnome walking through a house, I'm like, okay.
So let me ask you this, Dave, is that, and this is just a curiosity question that I have, because I know what happens with Laynee and I is that, but when you're, on an investigation and you encounter something, okay, what's your general reaction now that you've done this for such a long time?
Well, it's actually, it's still excitement because anytime where I think I got maybe something true communicating, I definitely want to stay put. I don't want to run out and, I'd like to get to the bottom of it. I want to stay there and get as much, document as much stuff as possible and try to find out who might be here doing it. But I think my reaction is still excitement, and I want to do what I can not to scare it off, but to do my best on documenting it.
Right. Well, and so what I'll say, and Laynee can back me up on this, is that when we've encountered anything, right, where it's been not necessarily a physical manifestation, but that the environment is manipulated, right? When we've been there investigating, is that you're so focused on the equipment that you have and trying to garnish evidence
that you miss.
That you don't drop anything, you don't run. Is that, and people always say, well, aren't you scared? I guarantee you, okay, that I would be scared out of my mind if I didn't have millimeters and spirit boxes and an infrared camera.
Yeah. So you're a vetted investigator, right?
Yeah,
but you guys are doing it.
You're only human, though.
Yeah, is that? But I'm going to tell you, and I don't know. I don't want to speak for Laynee on this, but is that Lanes, when you had your hair grabbed, what was your reaction?
I was happy, but I wanted to talk like if someone in person was touching my hair, like, hey, can you show me something else? Like treating it as if I can actually see them.
Like intrigued.
Yeah,
right?
Interact with them as much as you can and knowing them, hey, I'm focusing on you. Give me what you got.
See? And that's the key. And so that's what I'm saying, Adam. Yeah. No matter whether when you're not in the environment, okay, and if I was in a darkened basement without any equipment, okay, and somebody came and grabbed my hair, all right, I would probably be freaking out.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
inside,
right. You're right.
Yeah, especially if you're alone. I think inside I would be, but I'm going to tell myself over and over, man up, stay your ground, and this is what you're here for, But on the inside, I might want to do the old Scooby-Doo and run.
Yeah, but Dave, and you've encountered it, right? Where you're like, you stay steadfast when you're documenting stuff, right? Because you have all these other instruments that you want to corroborate that what you're experiencing is really being experienced.
Right.
And it's not some weird hallucination because you had 2 hours of sleep.
Exactly. Right. No, you're right on that.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the key, Adam, is that, if you came and investigated with Dave and I and Laynee, we would give you stuff and you'd understand that. You would, it doesn't take you to be even a seasoned veteran at this, is that you would understand that, is that because you would be so excited and focused on trying to garnish equipment and validating what your experience was, is that when you think about it in retrospect, sometimes it does scare you.
Listen, I'm a horrible person, by the way, because let me explain why. I'm so desperate to see something, to witness something, that if a full-blown demon appeared before me, the first thing in my mind is the adrenaline's going to dump, but I got to prove this. And that thing's going in a headlock. So, like I should not, when I eventually go do a documentary and we get into a Bigfoot thing, I definitely need a group of professionals around, because if you leave it up to me and a rifle, Bigfoot's coming back to us on a gurney. Right? Because I'm not going to be disproven. That thing's going down. So
that's what we said about Mothman at O'Hare Airport. My partner and I were hunting around, 5 a.m. when it's still dark out there. I said, if we come across this, it's going in a body bag.
Yeah, that thing's getting shot. No, you can't call me crazy. I'm bringing it back with me. But yeah, I will. I you know what? Come this summer, I'm definitely coming to visit you guys. I definitely want to do it. I want to get out there. I want to see something. I want to be a part of something. Here's the fearful part. I don't think they like me. I have to assume this, because in my life, I've gone to numerous places that were, claimed to be haunted, and a friend's house was one. We had a bunch of us. I'll give you a story. We had a bunch of us stay at a friend's house. His house was known for being haunted, and all right, we were all drinking, having fun, and I stayed in my own room. It's the middle of the night, and I sat there all night waiting, and nothing. And so I passed out. The next day I wake up, a couple of friends of mine are like, oh my God, you see that? You hear that? And I was mad at all of them. Like, guys, man, are you kidding me? Like, when I pass out, that's when they decide to get active. Like, so maybe it's something I did. Maybe I died.
And I have to tell you, it's usually nothing that you did, right? It's usually like, and I can tell you this on investigations verbatim, is that I could walk into any part of a home or an area, right? And I could be there for a half an hour.
Right.
And nothing happens ever. Okay. You throw Lainey into the mix. Lainey goes there. She's there for a minute and a half. Everything's going off.
Well, I also think because I've almost reached that death plane pretty much twice when I was first born, and then having been diagnosed with leukemia, a death sentence within 24 hours, all my organs were going to shut down.
Oh my God.
Reaching that death plane, maybe somehow I can my energy attracts their energy.
It's got to be because when we first started this, we would get hits or misses with, and this was before her leukemia, hits or misses on areas, and maybe we'd get a little bit of spirit box activity, or maybe we'd get, even back at the beginning, maybe we'd get a K2 spike or something. And then we would both be like perplexed, and I'd be like, hey, where do you want to go now? I don't know. I'm going to go to the basement. Let's set up equipment and try. And so it was really, really like hit or miss. There wasn't a lot. We weren't garnishing a lot of evidence, and it wasn't for lack of trying. It's just, we weren't, we just weren't privy to it. And I will tell you this, is that after Lainey was in a hospital for 3 months, and then she was treated with arsenic and Atra. It was a clinical study because her leukemia was 99.5% deadly.
Wow.
Is only 3,000 people a year get it. And they don't really know, again, why you get it is that, but she was fortunate enough to go to Loyola. And when she was diagnosed with it, they put her in a clinical trial. And believe it or not, they gave her arsenic. And then Atra is a lethal form of vitamin A. And they've come to find out that actually cures this specific type of leukemia. And she's been in remission now for 8 years.
I was just going to ask that. Wow, God bless.
Yeah, seriously. And I'll tell you what, too, Lainey. Here's what I think. When I hear this from a lot of near-death people as well. When you break a certain plane and there's some sort of frequency, it's like, again, your brain is a computer, the most complex on this planet currently. We have yet to have another computer replicate it. So maybe you open up, who knows, maybe you open up some new frequency. Maybe that could be it.
I hear that a lot from people with near-death experiences where they become very sensitive and almost like
well, it's because
like a medium, where
when
now they see, hear, and feel like they,
This
and I can tell you just based on this, and it wasn't something that we were even, looking into, until it started happening with frequency, is that every time we went somewhere, Lainey would be like, I really want to go on the third floor. And at first I'd be like, what the hell? We were just up there. Why would we want to go back to the third floor? We didn't get anything, and
right.
Inevitably, right, we would go up there and I'd reluctantly set up the stuff, and then Lainey would set up her stuff, and it was usually within a few minutes that something was happening. Spirit Box would be talking back to us. She would be getting stuff on a 360 Connect. And it was inevitable. And so now, when we go and investigate, my question all the time, every single after every single small investigation portion that we do in the property or in the area, I ask her, where do you feel like going? Where do you want to go? And just like the last thing that we did was, at Forest Park Cemetery was we had gone back there for the second time because we got so much activity the first time we were there. Mm-hmm. And we were walking, and we were going to go to the back of the cemetery because we never made it there. The first time we never got past really the chapel, and that was it. So we were walking to the back part of the cemetery, and we could have taken, I think there's like 3 paths that you could take. You could take one by the chapel, you could take the farthest one, you could take the other one. And so we decided to take the one that, Laynee had said, I want to go down this path. We went down the path, and it was to the old $1.5 million mausoleum that we had to pass. And, and she's like, I don't know why I'm drawn there, but I'm drawn there. And that's where she took the initial picture of what we call the paper boy, of the worker shadow figure by that mausoleum. And when we were there the second time, she was like, I got to go back there. And sure enough, REM pods are going off. She's getting a Connect figure that's going in tandem with the REM pod, activating and disappearing. And then, of course, what happens? I have to go back to the car because, Laynee forgot her camera or her phone. And so I run back to the car, which is about a 5-minute walk. Laynee's garnishing all this evidence by herself. And then I get back there, and what happens? Nothing. Everything stops at a dead stop.
Oh, I mean, they're aware. Let me tell you what I think is going on with Laynee. I think her experience made her Bluetooth available. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, that totally makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like there's a reception now that you've opened.
I'm sure they see you in a different way, if it's your aura or however. But I think spirits see sensitive people differently.
I'd spoken to a lady, another off podcast. I'll have her on soon. I'm talking her into it. But anyway, her experience is different than some of the other near-death people I'd spoken to. I mean, I'd spoken to some on podcasts, some off. She fell from a building and died, and they revived her in an ambulance, right? Twice, because she kept dying, right? Kept failing. She was an older woman. And then, come a year later, she starts hearing, voices. And she lost some percentage of her hearing in one of her ears due to something with the fall, but she's hearing voices. And she was, for years, tortured by this. She thought she was insane. They were giving her medicine. Nothing worked. And she told me, she goes, I finally started asking, what do you want? And then she would have, small talk. And then that voice would leave her be, and then the next one would come. So what I think, and I've heard this from other people, where you get a head injury. Like one guy got to a massive wreck, and now he can play piano at the master's level, right? That when your brain is injured, like any other muscle or any other organ in your body, when you injure one part, it has to compensate with a different part. And who's to say when you what happened with Laynee or some of these other people, you damage the brain from this poison that's in your body or impact. And the part of your brain that you now use to compensate for that is the receptor itself that we don't use, usually we don't use it, but now it's being used in these cases. So in Laynee's case, especially with poison, because when you're putting poison in your body to cure yourself, your brain's like, what the hell's going on here? And it's going to utilize an emergency backup system to kind of compensate for what they think is an attack. And Laynee her Bluetooth might be on now. I think that might be it.
And I think that gives, that was an eloquent explanation, Adam. And I think that and you're welcome. And then that gives, that's why I would never go investigate without Laynee again, period.
Yeah, as you shouldn't. Because one, I watch your videos, and you could tell Laynee's, she's got a radar on, because she's very focused. If you look at Laynee, all right, I want you to look at one of your videos. Dave, watch one of their videos with Laynee, and then watch.
Yeah, you know what? I did. I watched quite a few.
And then watch her eyes, and then watch a spotter for a sniper in training, and see the similarity. You know what I mean? That's how Laynee is. Yeah, that's how I watch her.
That's a compliment.
I like to, since you're talking on this subject, don't let me veer off if you need to talk about something else.
No, go ahead.
This has been happening to me for quite a few years now, and I'm trying to eliminate it. I see cardiologist, neurologist, but I have trouble, and I think it has to do that. If I let myself open, I've been trying to block it, so I don't feel it as much. But I have so much trouble. If I have like a white noise in the room, or I'm in, every day I go through this, every shower I take, it seems like someone wants to take control of me, almost use my body. And I'll hear that's where I hear a lot of disembodied voices myself. Sometimes they're mad, where it seems like they're angry and they'll yell where it feels like my body and my ears just explode. You know, I don't know if they're in such a personal close zone, but when water's running, like a shower, fan, any type of noise, it like puts me almost in this trance. I can't explain it, but I find it several times.
I'm so glad that you brought that up.
I'm embarrassed, you know. But
no. Is that I'm going to tell you what is that. So I'm glad it's not just Lainey and I. Is that so? We have these sound machines that we sleep with, right? And we run pink noise. And pink noise is supposed to allow your brain to even when you're in REM sleep, it allows your brain to focus and to not be distracted by external noises. So, you know, like if you have a doorbell ringing and stuff and you have this pink noise, you know, machine going, you don't, and pink noise for everybody is pretty close to white noise. It's just a slightly different frequency. It is that, and I can tell you is that beyond a shadow of a doubt is that there are given days that you could be half asleep and half in, half out of sleep, and you have this pink noise generator going, and you hear voices in the pink noise. I've heard radio stations or what appears to be radio stations, and Lainey can totally speak to this.
Well, even with the brown noise, the white noise, you literally hear conversations. You can actually sometimes hear your own self talking, whether that be, just recycled energy that's replaying. It happens to me almost every single night.
Every shower I take, you know, it should be a 10, 15-minute shower. I have to add another 10, 15 minutes because I have like no control.
And you don't. Is that yeah, when you tune into that and you hear it, Dave, don't think you're going nuts. Is because we both experience it nightly.
I just got to make sure that like I said, I fell a few times, fainted, but usually I could catch myself when it's about to happen. I'll snap out of it. But, you know, it seems like something wants to channel me and I don't know. It's really weird, but I'm glad.
It's really weird that you brought that up. Though. Yeah. Is that because
it's frustrating, you know.
See, you have an exclusive, Adam. We've never ever told that on the air to anyone.
Well, here's what I try to tell people, and I'll tell Dave this too. And this is a very beyond. It's more common than you know. It's your brain, and here's something people fail to understand about the brain. It's a receptor. When you speak in frequencies, and when people meditate, some people tell me all the time, like, I can't meditate. When you focus on something that you like doing, you're meditating, just at a more intense way, right? Now, for frequencies, and I'd said this to an afterlife specialist too. People make fun of people or you hear frequencies. Listen, get a head cold or a sinus infection, and things that you would otherwise not be able to hear, you will hear, and because that's fluid in your ears, which allows finer things to take in, right? You could hear finer noises. So now, picture this. If we were to take a radio wave and focus it directly at your head, at some point it's going to reverb around your cavity of your brain. And then your brain, being a more complex computer, could interpret that information, whether you know it consciously or subconsciously. So in Dave's instance, when I hear him say that in the white noise, perhaps that frequency is in tune with something that's already in your head, allowing you to pick up on a frequency you would otherwise not hear normally. You have to make room for these things.
Well, and I will tell you this, is that you know, and this makes me sound really dated, but right after they did the Sony Walkmans, okay, with the rare earth headphones, because that's exactly what it was. Those small headphones were rare earth based.
Well, over the ear or in the ear?
Not in the ear. It was, you might be too young for this, Adam, this conversation, but they were just small, tiny, about half ear size.
Okay, yeah, I
headphones.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Sony Walkmans from back in the 80s, when they brought them out, right, they were rare earth based headphones. And somebody decided at the time that they realized that your brain and your ears could interpret frequencies without having something on your ears. They were called bone phones. Anybody remember bone phones?
No, I don't.
Not bone phones, but there's a show. I keep referring to this show called Future Weapons, where they discuss this very thing, where you could literally send a sound wave to someone, and you're not that you're here, but it's affecting your equilibrium, and they were going to weaponize this thing. So
but is that this was a commercially available product that basically you wore on your neck, on the base of your neck, where your where the back part of your spinal cord, meets the base of your brain, and you could plug. These weren't wireless, so you could plug these in to a Walkman and not have headphones on your head, and be able to listen to your favorite cassette. And the fidelity wasn't great, but you never had to have anything in your ears.
I mean, it makes sense.
And so bone phones were only popular for a short period of time. But it is, it is a fact. They did manufacture them, and it did work.
Yeah, listen, get your regular smartphone, put on something like music, put it under a blanket, lay on it, and then cover your ears, and you'll hear the music in your head. It's a sound wave. It's going to travel through your body. It's going to echo through your head. It's your body's ultimately a cavity of fluid, and what better way to transmit energy and sound than through that cavity, right?
Like waves in a pond.
Yeah, it might not have the clarity of being directly over the ears, but with science, we could invent something. But again, I tell people this: if you put just like a device behind your back under a blanket and cover your ears, you're going to be able to hear it. It's going to go through your body. So with Dave, as far as a takeover, here's a couple things that come to mind for me. Your brain is pre-programmed with a flight or fight mechanism. And when you're having a frequency enter the head, because again, keep in mind what frequencies can do to someone. We're talking about a show called Future Weapons, where they were going to use sound waves to render people unconscious and/or blow up their internal organs and end them. Now talk about something at a finer frequency that's maybe trying to communicate with you.
Yeah, you know what's weird? I didn't mention either, and this is not all the time, but sometimes it seems like I'll have, I'll have visions, and they'll be so damn fast. It's like I can't remember what I just saw. It's like, and then sometimes when I'm in that state of mind, I'll find a step out of it, and I'm like, what? Why the hell's my hand up, or why am I in this position? And I think with this vision, I'm like reaching for something or doing stuff. And then, a lot of times I'll be so out of it. Like if I have a brand new soap, the only thing that wakes me up, it's hitting my foot, and it's like a brick hitting my foot. I'm like, and it snaps me out of it. Or sometimes I'll get a voice, I don't know if it's a spirit guide or what, whatever your beliefs are, it's almost, yelling like, wake up or something, maybe before something bad before I fall, or maybe it's a spirit. Sometimes it feels like almost my body could be shaking, and then I'll hear unexplained, disembodied voice, and I'm like, I'm thinking, is this something trying to enter me to channel me, or it seems like I'm at my weakest point, especially in the shower, where I could easily get put in a trance.
It sounds to me like you're a natural meditative. You have a natural meditative ability. Is that, and that's good, and that could have put you on the path for why you investigate in the first place.
I was going to say, because he was law enforcement. Something drew him. Listen, when someone has the amount of investment into paranormal research like Dave does, that's not just like I'm going to do it on Saturday, bro. You're in it.
Well, I've always heard, as a child, I heard, and not every day, but at times, especially at night, when I'm in the zone, I would hear disembodied voices, and I would hear muffled conversations. And I remember at times waking up, getting my mom, waking her up and saying, Mom, I hear these conversations, muffled conversations. I don't know what they're trying to tell me, but I've always had something, even as a child. And I still, as I get older, it would happen to me. I would hear voices and think my wife came home, or my daughter's home, and I'm the only one home. There's no one outside. First thing I check when I hear clear as day, I know it's in the room with me, but I'll still check outside and make sure none of the neighbors or, no one's home or walking by. But yeah, I still, even on investigations or even now, it's like an everyday thing. But I've been trying to block it when I'm at home. I live a block away from a cemetery, and I don't want stuff coming in and out trying to communicate with me. And at home, outside of home is a different story, but not when I'm
on your smart device on your phone. You should have a thing that's for notes, right? And every time it happens, rather than block it, catalog it, take note, and compare those notes at the end of every month. Because typically you'll find a pattern in yourself that you didn't realize, right? 2, I advise you to speak to some mediums and find out.
I have. I mean, I deal with some of. They're both out of Arizona, but very closely with some mediums, and they. It's hard for me. I'm still skeptical, even though I know it's happening to me. But
you're questioning your own sanity.
Tell me, right?
You can't do that. So.
Well, I'm going to say, Dave, is that like I said, Lainey and I have never brought that up to anybody, and I'm actually glad that you brought it up. Here's what I'd like to see you do as an experiment: is that find, and they're not that expensive, I mean, there's varying degrees of them, but find a pink noise generator, and then put it in your bedroom, okay? Or if you're going to take a nap, let's say, is that put it on, right? And focus on it just a little bit. Is that's all it takes. Sometimes, for lately, we don't even have to focus on it. It's just, you can hear it, and see what that exhibits, what you come out of that with, and you're in a prone position, right? So you don't have to, be concerned that if you lose it, you're not losing it to any detriment to yourself.
Right.
Is that, but try it, because I'm going to tell you is that we get it all the time, and we have
pink noise. Okay. No, I definitely, I'll look into that. And cause I can't fall asleep anyway. It's hard for me to fall asleep, but I need some type of noise, like fan noise or something.
Yeah, same here. I listen to documentaries.
Otherwise I can't fall asleep.
I literally listen to documentaries every night, whether it be the cosmos or something about space or just any documentary where the guy's voice or whoever's narrating is very monotone. That's how I fall asleep. I can't fall asleep in silence because my computer, my brain never turns off. I will think about.
I can't fall asleep with the TV on. My wife always wants the TV on, but
Well, here, and I'm just going to read this to you.
Sure.
Is because Lainey is the best at research. So she was looking this up while we were yakking it up. Is that so? White noise has equal power per frequency. Pink noise has equal power per octave. Because the lower frequencies are louder than the higher frequencies in pink noise, it sounds less abrasive and leads to a better night's sleep. And that's the definitive thing about why we use pink noise to sleep with. And so, but again, we still experience it and we still hear it. We still hear it. And usually it's like a girl. I mean, I hear a lot of radio stations. I don't know why, I feel like I'm doing a spirit box session, but but we do from time to time. It's always, if I hear individual speech, it's always a young girl, almost indiscernible about what they're actually saying, though.
It's very hard to make it out.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But so I'm so glad that you brought that out of us.
Yeah, that really comes out because I find it kind of embarrassing because I don't know what's going on, but medically, I mean, this goes back several years. I've been to neurology. I'm thinking,
oh sure,
am I having many strokes or what the hell's going on here?
Right.
And or
nope. I think you're fine, and I think that's what has caused us to to be almost in a heightened meditative state. And I really truly believe that. And that's why, right? Because that's one of the theories of us ghost hunting, right? Is frequencies.
Right.
That's why that's the whole premise behind the spirit box to begin with, is that they communicate on higher frequencies. And so if you can mash those frequencies together quickly enough, you could get vowel and consonant sounds that you can actually hear, versus, with your own ears that you can't really hear anything, and I'm a big believer in our spirit box sessions. I mean, when it
first came out, I was very skeptical, but I got some, and I'm sure you have too, got some outstanding evidence that even swear words that can be accident, the radio coming through.
No, right.
Stuff calling my name, telling me, actually, I got in through the ghost box, not only calling my name and saying, "I'll help you, Dave," but it even identified, it goes Xbox 7, the ghost box I was using. I mean, what are the odds of that? I mean, right there, there's no way in the world that could be an accidental radio frequency coming through, especially if it's the same voice back to back.
Have you ever gone to Egyptian theater, Dave?
No.
Okay. Do yourself a favor and go. There's not a lot of places to go there to investigate, right? Mm-hmm. But we were fortunate enough to go there, and it's in DeKalb, Illinois, by the way. But I think it's like, yeah, or is it Cairo, Illinois? I don't know where the hell it's at.
It's in DeKalb, Illinois.
DeKalb?
Yeah.
Okay. So,
you think it'd be in Cairo, right? Wouldn't that make sense?
Yeah, right. Egyptian theater, Cairo.
Yeah.
I almost want to hit my Roadcaster Pro with the rim shot. So, okay. Good morning, everybody. So, but we did a private investigation there, and they had talked about, usually we don't, again, when we investigate, we try not to get information so it doesn't taint us when we're there. And then halfway through, we ask, some backstory stuff, so that then we can go back to what we were doing and maybe look out for certain things. Well, one of the purported things that we were told halfway through the investigation was that people heard noises and basically paper crinkling on the stage, right? Which would make sense, scripts, what have you.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And so we didn't think anything of it, and we kind of blew it off. And there's also the talk of a lady in green there who they believe was a performer there at some point. They don't know what era. People have purported to have seen her. So I was doing a spirit box session at the stage, and I had asked, I said, "Lady in green, if you're here with us, could you let us know, did you perform here? Were you an actress?" No response, really. Spirit box is still going off. And then I say, "Were you a singer?" And the spirit box says, "Singer." And I go, "Oh, you were a singer." That's right. Is that so? And we actually have
where do you buy the spirit box? Where can I buy it?
Go to Pro Measure. Go ahead, Lanes.
No, that was correct. I was going to say promeasure.com. And Gary
Geiger, that's his company, right? Or
Galka,
that's it.
Yeah. So there's that. Yeah, go there. And if you're going to buy one, buy an SB11.
Because he's the actual manufacturer of that. So that's why you want to go through him. I wouldn't use a third party. Make sure that if you
get the XB11, buy the newer version that you could cut out
that's
white noise.
Right. I just got that for Christmas. Thank you, Lainey.
Yes, you are so welcome.
Yeah, that was my pre-Black Friday buy, I think it was.
Is that, yeah. So, yeah, but it's got automatic noise control that you can tap down it, though, and turn it into a standard spirit box. But the great thing about an SB11 is it's 2 radios, and you can put one sweep going forward, one sweep going reverse, which is what I always do. You put it about 100 milliseconds to 150, 100 to 100 milliseconds, and let it sweep away. Is that, and so we actually captured that intelligent response at the Egyptian. But the best part was they had told us this story about the script thing, getting back to the script thing. And I'll defer to my most beautiful Laynee.
Okay, so I'm over there on stage and I'm like, Don, hey, do you hear that? Do you hear that? And he's like, no, I don't hear it. I said, it sounds like crinkling, like a page crinkling. And I'm like, are you sure? He goes, no, it happened like 3 or 4 times. Finally, there was a big like drop of a paper. It was like,
like a book, like something that would have been a thick script. And I mean, like slammed to the ground.
Whoa.
And I go, now do you hear it?
Interesting.
And we actually did catch that too on video and on auto, which
Audio,
is on
right, yeah.
both. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
well, not video, but video meaning that you can see
the
what we're
audio of
doing.
the video, right?
Yeah. Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Don.
And so Lainey's on stage and she's by herself. And I was actually not on stage with her. I was actually down below the stage by the front part of the chairs. I was actually grabbing equipment. We were going to start wrapping up. And that's really when it happens a lot to us, is that when we start packing stuff up, that's when they get anxious, and I feel that they don't feel like they've been heard or noticed enough. And sure enough, right?
I don't mean to interrupt. You could go right back. It just reminds me of, I just went through some evidence yesterday. I'm still going through what we talked about before, the fields with the crash and everything. And I still got tons of video from days I've been out there. And what you said about the spirits, I got an EVP, and this was from a stationary camera. We were way in another section. And then I left that other section and I'm walking. I have to get another battery. And I think it thinks I'm leaving. And I get an EVP saying, you better come back.
I swear to God, it happens a lot, man. When we're packing stuff up,
It does.
I can, I go back to the high activity at Crown Point. We were taking pictures because we were done.
Oh, I love Crown Point.
Yeah. And we were on the 3rd floor in the juvie area. And that's when it all came down on us within 45 seconds. You hear the, Sandy right there.
Oh yeah. She's great.
So, yeah. Oh, super nice.
Well,
But,
I mean, imagine
Sandy's not running up 3 flights of stairs, Dave.
Imagine ghosts, like if there's a spirit and someone acknowledges them, they're like, wow, someone's here to see me. Maybe they don't speak, but when you leave, like, what the hell are you leaving? We didn't even get started yet.
Right.
And some of the investigations, you're just on a certain time frame too, of course.
Yeah, I mean, they're also getting familiar with you. If it's me, no, not me. If I'm a ghost, you're in trouble because I'm a pain in the ass. Let's say a ghost that's not me's there. They're going to take time to warm up to you as well, right? Because you're a stranger in their dwelling. And by the way, how do we don't know exactly what it is that they're seeing in their surroundings. Like when you go to a dark place, to them, it might be daylight and they might be, you don't know how their perception is. So,
no, I agree with that.
Yeah,
totally agree with that.
You might be walking their house in the middle of lunch and like, what the are these people doing in my house?
A building, a location that wasn't there back when. Maybe it was original owners, like back then when it was like a farmland and it's his farmhouse or barn, or he might be seeing it totally different, not the building. Like I'm sure the college I'm working my side job now, the right college, the spirits here don't see it as a college. They see it as these buildings back when it was an institution.
Right.
Sure.
Some people, I had a couple of people ask, like, well, what about the violent ones? Okay. Understand this. You just walked into some guy's house. For him, it's his hour to watch baseball, whatever he's doing. You're interrupting him. And of course he's going to be unpleasant. And I say this too. Most times ghosts touch you, whether it's to be, pleasant and or not pleasant. They're manipulating energy to do this. It's not going to feel good to you in either case.
You're right on that. I mean, unless it's really scratching and drawing blood or leaving, major bruises, and you can see it's an attack. But I get a lot of marks on me, and it's just that energy touch. You know how you could touch the wall and outlet, you get that zap. I truly believe, like when I get these, I get welts from something, I could feel the touch, and then it starts burning, and I get a welt. I don't think they're there to hurt me. Yeah. I just think it's their touch, and you got the electrical charge, and it's leaving the welt or the red mark.
In Laynee's case, where it grabs her hair, to them that was probably the least harmful thing they could do, right? Like, well, I'll just grab her hair because it's not going to be it's a little more benign of a touch.
Well, that was also at the Crown Point Jail too, in the rec room. So, I mean, I'm kind of lucky that it was just the hair.
Yeah.
Well, I was hoping somebody would grab my butt, but that didn't happen.
You know,
going back to the Crown Point and talking about something like that, I really got a good EVP on it, and I forget what area we were, but tell me if I told you this already. Sometimes I'll bring some of my police gear, especially a location like that, and I had Matt, the fireman, on the team, and it was me and another investigator on this floor, and I have him set up. I brought different police hats, some uniform shirts, nightsticks, handcuffs, and badges, my badge and other stuff. And I acted like I was the new warden. And usually I don't provoke unless it's maybe a place like this or,
right.
Maybe, a location that, they hate the police most likely. But never does someone show more business. But anyway, I misunderstood Matt. He said something. He had the police gear in, and he ended up saying, I'm going to toss the cell, but I thought he was using a prison term because sometimes you want to go back and use prison terms. I thought he said, he walked in, I'm going to toss salad. That's a prison term you see in the movies and stuff. And I'm like, what? What did you say? I said, there's no tossing salads here. In fact, there's no self-gratification when I'm around. And then I get a voice saying, is it wrong?
Damn.
Yeah, sometimes if you play the part, it just seems to bring it out more.
You want to hear something interesting that this woman said to me? And I have to introduce you guys to this woman, by the way. She doesn't want to be on a show. She doesn't want attention. She has a lot of experience with spirits. She said, if you want to ever get reactions from spirits, have pleasure items like brownies, cookies, ice cream. She says you will get extreme reactions from that. I had to think of that for a moment. Yeah, if it's me, I'm a ghost, and where I am, there's no, obviously I'm not eating, but I see chocolate chip cookies. I'm going to do everything in my power to get my hands on one. Doesn't matter.
I ever brought food. I think I brought like beer or something like like maybe cards, cigarettes. I mean, I don't smoke, but just as props and stuff. But I don't think I ever brought, food. And
yeah, but she said pleasure items, and pleasure items, not for all. I mean, if you have the spirit of a 5th century warlord, he's not going to give two shits about cookies. They weren't around when it was, So, but the point I make is when she said that, it never dawned on me. Never in my mind did it entertain the idea of to have like, fresh baked cookies around. You never know, because again, if I put myself in this shoe, if I'm a ghost and I see cookies, I'm really going to make an effort, because that memory, now your energy is, and your consciousness and your soul, all the one and the same, I believe. In the spirit world, you have a recollection of certain things, and a pleasure item should be, top of that list easily. So I think that might be something maybe you try, maybe see how it works. You never know.
I suck at baking.
I'll be like, sorry, it's store-bought.
Indeed.
It came from Jewel. Sorry.
Before we close, guys, are there anything you guys want to add?
I don't know if I told you the last time. This is really cool. I just can't remember when I caught this evidence, but I was back on the field and I was going through evidence, and I was trying to talk several times to the pilot to tell him it's not his fault, and there's been documentaries and investigations on it, and explained the whole story to him. And 3 of the times I was there, he would never come through. But this was I think it was on Halloween. I was there, just a short one. I was on duty, and it was my lunch break, so I wasn't actually on the property. I was outside on the apron area.
Right.
And I think he finally got sick of hearing me, and he comes through. And the reason I know it's him, because I was asking questions. I know you weren't supposed to work that day. You had a summer home in Wisconsin, and then you're from Arizona. And knowing it was him, he said the word Wisconsin, and he said Phoenix for Arizona. And then, I said, if you haven't moved on, don't feel, because you feel guilty of this accident, it wasn't your fault. And like I said, I explained everything. And he comes through and it says, I crossed.
Huh.
What do you think I crossed would mean? To me, it only really means one thing, but I can never say 100%. He's probably sick of hearing me say, Dave, don't worry about me. I'm fine. I crossed.
That's imagine when a spirit's like, I'm leaving now.
But I mean, what would that mean? I mean,
I don't know.
I'm thinking I crossed would mean he crossed over already.
Yeah, he crossed. He came back and he was like, "Stop pissing me off."
Yeah,
right. Probably, Dave. I get it. I'm fine. Leave me alone.
All right. I'm here. Okay, I'm saying hello. Maybe you'll shut up now.
Yeah, that's like.
But for the non-believers, I mean, it might give hope to people that there is something out there. There is whatever I cross means to the next level, or
I think right now, with science, and look, when I started this podcast, Dave, I thought when you died, the computer turned off, over. Since then, I've evolved because not just from the people I've interviewed, I've taken the time to research, read, find studies. There are scientists out there, I won't say who or where they watch people die, and they have all sorts of sensitive, sophisticated equipment there, and they're noticing a pattern there where an energy is dispersed. Like it seems like there's an energy release from the body. I
do believe that because I think I felt it before.
Yeah, because if you think of this, what our consciousness is and what our soul is, I personally believe are one and the same. When you look at things like the cosmic web and how it's constructed, and you look at the human brain and the similarities between the cosmic web and the brain, I really think, personally, Earth is a proving ground. And depending on what we do here, we either A, recycle when we're back here again because we didn't do everything right, or we did something really good. We have to be here again because we're needed, and or there are the few that have pushback and they stay in the what I call the in-between, which are these very entities that all of you are investigating. Some of these people have been killed fast, and they're in that state of confusion. They don't know what happened. They feel like they didn't get anything done. Like, I hear a lot about people that they can see their relatives right at their deathbed, and they're prepared, or some other people are dying at some point in their life and there's a preparation for that. But people who die instantly, whether it be a gunshot, a car accident, or whatever it may be, they're here partially because there's unfinished business, or there's probably a ton of souls that are like, where am I? What happened? What's going on? And then here's the flip side of that. We don't know what they're perceiving or what they're seeing. They might be seeing the world that you're standing in right now, just very differently. I also believe the next level we're going to, if I go to that cosmic web and I want to compare it to fiber optic cables, there's definitely a source. I was never one to say God. I want to remove the word God and say architect. Something is definitely...
Yeah, I never want to preach to the people, my beliefs. Everyone has their own beliefs.
Yeah.
And stuff. So whatever that next level you guys believe is.
Yeah, so I think what happens is what I think, anyway, this is my personal theory. When you pass from here, your energy, aka your soul, aka your consciousness, again, is either recycled or it goes to its next plane of view, wherever it's going to go to. In my case, when I do pass eventually, and I do see these people in the spirit world, I'm like, well, why did none of you approach me when I was obviously looking for one? Even they're going to tell me the God's honest truth. They're going to be like, you're an asshole. That's why. So you just didn't fit in with us, champ. Sorry. But, so I make room for a lot of these belief systems. I don't doubt anything at all. I think in the next 10 years, because if you look at the pattern of science and technology and how it's evolving, I think we're going to be moving. I think the supernatural and the everyday normal, I think it's going to merge, especially with things like Neuralink, where your brain's going to be able to, it's a corrective thing to begin with, but eventually we'll have these things in our heads, and our consciousness and our subconscious I think they're going to meet in the middle somewhere. We'll have a greater understanding. And I think we're going to have more sophisticated equipment where I think the answers of the paranormal are going to be a little more easier for people to study due to technology, eventually anyway.
You know what I caught, I was going to ask you, and I just remembered before, have you ever captured anything paranormal related to animals? I think I caught my first one during this last investigation on one.
I have not. I don't think, have we ever, Lainey, we've never captured anything that was...
When we had a dog, a Lhasa Apso Molly, and she was about to pass. And she was sick. She was 18 and she had diabetes, but of course she was older. We were at North Carolina.
Yeah.
And right before, we took her to the vet to put her down. We go back to the hotel, and not even kidding, a shape of her was on the floor.
Was embedded on the floor.
Wow.
It was so awesome to see because I was so close with her. I had her since I was a little girl. But exactly where I was like putting her, holding her and petting her, her shape was right there when we got back to the hotel.
And then the ironic thing about it, and maybe, maybe we wanted to see it, but I'm going to tell you what, is that we were taking pictures on the way home, and we had her ashes in the back of the car.
Okay.
And we were taking pictures of this cloud formation that was coming over the mountains that we were driving through. And all of a sudden, so when we got home, Lainey was looking at the pictures, and
we saw Molly. We saw the shape of her in almost maybe every other photo. And on top of that, when we came home that night, we got her favorite. She loved hamburgers. We're sitting there, me and Don were eating. And then all of a sudden the lights flicker like 3 times, which was just so odd. I don't know if we wanted to see something.
But I have to tell you is that one picture in particular was that you could pick out her face and her body in this cloud formation. And it's not like I look at cloud formations all the time and be like, oh, that looks like,
right.
or it looks like Jesus on toast.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a good point. But I mean, as far as during our investigations, we've never.
Yeah, I think I caught my first one. I mean, I always keep an open mind. I figure energy's energy, human, animal. But yeah, on the crash site, I mean, for years, it's a canine training center. So you had a lot of CPD canine trainers that their dogs would pass, and they'd bury them, on the premises, where the. I didn't realize it was all over the field. I thought it was this one section, but we had, one of the mediums picked up a couple dogs in the spirit world running around. She goes, I don't know if they're from the airplane but she didn't know there was stuff buried there. But anyway, during the investigation, we would hear at times like a dog bark just from to our right or just to our left. He's like, man, did you hear that? That was a deep dog, and then so we're scanning with a thermal, making sure that no wild animals
are
around. But we did hear maybe 3 times with our own ear a dog bark. So then the dog trainer, who is a newer guy on the team, he was given commands in German, of bark and this and that. So we leave the area where we heard the disembodied barking. We went to some folding tables where we were going to do a EVP and then ghost box session. And I had a lot of the equipment on that table outside, so we don't have to walk all the way back to the ambulance or to the trailer we had as a home base. But
start referring to that as Echo 2, please.
Echo 2, excuse me. But as I kept the spirit box running, and we got a voice, like a 2-3 word voice, whatever it said. But then, I'm talking and I'm saying, if you're out there, come over here to speak to us. And then after I give a pause, we were, it came through on the recording, and all, the trainer heard it and he showed it to his coworkers, and they say, man, they believe it's a German Shepherd, that deep, like, not just a nice bark, that like attack, like, that deep,
that aggressive
deep bark.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the first time I've ever captured anything animal wise, especially like dog or like a bark. So for
now
dog
you're going to say that, and we're
yeah.
going to go someplace, and then next thing you know, some disembodied cat's going to follow us home.
Yeah,
I hate cats.
Listen. Here's the thing, and I say this to people too. These are part of my conversations, but dogs, cats, all living things are
energy.
Well, yeah, they have a consciousness. They are energy. It's like ours. The only thing that is different is that their computer does things a little, not to our capacity, right? Our brain, I should say. So our bodies, our energy, our consciousness, we have a more complex computer. Now, a dog's computer is less complex. So when it's in that plane of in between, and that plane of in between being key, they're only going to be able to communicate the way they did here. They're not recycled yet. They haven't gone to the next, wherever it is. Their energy is still the energy it was here. And at the point where it recycles, and just like us, any animal, any living thing, if it's a sudden death, they're going to be in that in between. Like, we don't know what happened. I have to believe that. So the only real separation again is the capacity of the computer. It's really what it comes to. When I say, again, for people listen, the brain, I refer to my brain as all brains as a computer. Just what version do you have? I don't know. Some people have even more primitive ones. The point I make is,
I think a lot of people just run an XP.
Right.
They got a lot of vulnerabilities.
They're still on the Atom computer or whatever that first one was.
Or maybe they're still doing 311. I don't know.
So if there's like, let's say deer, because deer, how often are deer killed instantly? Hit by a car, shot by a hunter, whatever it is. So their energy's here as well in that in between plane. When you're doing investigations, like deer in real life, they're running, they're gone. You know what I mean? They're not going to stay. A dog, on the other hand, makes sense that it would respond to you, because in its plane in this existence, it would respond to commands or a human voice. So
it's funny how, we're talking maybe whatever it took to leave that spot and to walk, I don't know, maybe a minute, maybe a little more, I don't know, from the location where we heard the bark and he gave the command, and then we went to the table. So say if it's a minute and a half, whatever it was, and then we get that roof. So maybe it followed us,
I had a friend of mine really screw my head up once. We were fishing and we were catching bass, and he has a house, and out back his house, like this kind of medium lake, and there'd be bass or carp or whatever. And we'd catch the fish, we'd throw it back. And our other friend there, this girl, she's like, how do you know you're hurting these things? Like, come on, fish don't have feelings. They're not even real things, right? She's like, what if you die? And then when you cross over, there's all the fish sitting there looking like, why did you do this to me? As dumb as that was, it sat on my head for 2 days. I thought about how often we fish where these things are chewing on metal hooks, ripping their face apart because they bleed. We do see this. And then it brought me back to like, well, what, they can't think the way we do, but we are hurting them. They just don't express pain. They don't scream. That's the only reason it's okay, right?
Because that would freak you out, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
A screaming fish.
Why? Oh my God, that would really screw me up.
You know what happened to my sister? And, the more and more I do this, the more I think it's a possibility of spirits could come visit you, especially loved ones in dreams. At first I was skeptical, but, doing this for quite a while now, I think it's a good possibility. I think my sister told me about it right before Christmas. Right. And, I always talk to my dad. I won't say every day, but almost every day, even driving to work or whatever. And he knew I investigated the paranormal, and he came through to my sister, and she said its dream seemed like it was forever. And he appeared, he worked for Trans World Airlines for like 42 years. He was so proud of it. And he appeared. He died when he was 84. He appeared, like my sister said, in his 30s or something, very young, wore the TWA, I think almost maybe to identify himself, and gave a message that she got to hug him, and then got the message that he hears me, but he's having trouble getting through to me. And, I'm thinking, well, maybe because I've been trying to block all this other stuff that he's not able to, come through or talk to me. And, especially when I'm home, because I've been trying to block it and do certain things and saging and everything else. And, he described to her, it was really weird. And she tried to look it up online, how like these voices come through from one plane to the other. And she found something, and almost like a long, he kept on calling it tubes, these energy tubes. And she saw a picture that was similar to, like, remind me of like a black hole, but it was a black hole. And it was like from one end, and it's just like twisting energy through this tube to wherever it had to go to. And I mean, it was like so detailed, and there's stuff that I, when I talk to him in the car or wherever I'm at, there's no way in the world my sister would know about that. So it makes me wonder, that he came through, and like I said, there's stuff that she brought up that I talked to him about that she just wouldn't know. And
yeah, I mean, he probably felt like you're okay, and she needed a message. Right? She needed some sort of reassurance.
Yeah, and then to let me know he's trying, but he's still. He goes, for some reason, I'm trying, but it's like he's blocked. That he couldn't get through to me, but he hears what I'm saying.
Hey, Laynee, let me ask you something. When you're on investigations, do you ever get like not an upset stomach, but like what's the best way to describe it? Like a when you get nervous and you feel it in your stomach?
Like butterflies.
Yeah, I guess that's so. Yeah, butterflies. I guess you could say. Do you ever get that?
You know what? No, I don't. Not on investigations.
Huh? Because I was reading. I'm reading it.
I have.
Yeah, so
I have to the point of getting nauseous. To the point of it's weird. It seems like sometimes I either starts in the head or I could feel it in the stomach working its way up to the head. And to me, it's when I think I'm very close to this energy. I mean, really close.
Yeah, because I'm reading something and it's saying that people with I typed in chemical response because I'm really big on that, chemical responses and things. And one of the things I'm reading is that someone had something that would disrupt their nervous system and make them feel like their stomach was nervous, right? And that's how he wrote it here. I'm imagining butterflies in the stomach. But the point is, it makes me question, are we careful enough around certain things? I mean, when you're investigating, you have to exercise some caution.
Right. And this, especially like what Don was saying, with a lot of stones like shungite, which is also like a mineral stone, crystals are really good things to have with you when you're investigating, and knowing what stones you can have with other stones so it doesn't cause harm, that it actually does more good than harm.
I got to learn more about stones. I got to talk to you more about that.
Oh,
I have a lot of the other stuff, but I admit when it comes to stones itself, I have lack of knowledge of.
Laynee has done such research on it, is that you should see our necklaces when we go to investigate.
One thing I want to tell Dave, but a shungite stone, Shungite, if you can get a hold of it, it's on Amazon maybe for a couple bucks. But that also will help purify your house, just having it next to you. It also goes ahead and does some kind of counter reaction with EMF, so it doesn't become very dangerous in 5G. Okay. So if you get some time, go on Amazon and just purchase it.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, I gotta find some stuff like that too.
Oh man, I'm drawing. I could picture it, but
yeah, it's like a black.
I can't think of it.
Oh, I'm seeing it now. Okay, I'm seeing it. Wow, there's a lot. Wow, that's a cool one. You see it,
Adam? Yeah.
Yeah, I want to buy this one. It looks really cool.
Some of them are kind of expensive, but you can get like a nice small one.
Well, there's one here for $300. It's a full necklace, and it's got this.
Oh, I'm there. No.
Yeah.
My wife will kill me. I'll have to communicate in the spirit world.
Right. You'll be communicating with her pretty soon.
Yeah, that one's really. It looks like royalty would wear it. It's got that stone you're describing, and in between it, it's got like a shiny silverish metal one with some tiger eye. That looks nice.
Right. And then, okay, just so you guys know how you would purify it is because, of course, it's going to go ahead and take a lot of the negativity into the stone. So what you want to do is run it over like water and then just go ahead and pour the water out.
Crystals would be sunlight, right?
No, it would not be. It would be like a full moon that you would want to go ahead and put it on probably like a mirror and go ahead and put it out on the full moon and charge the crystal.
Okay, I thought for some reason I thought all the crystals I have, I put them in the sunlight. I thought the sunlight was.
I'm gonna have to get Laynee on to talk about that more of that because that's something I was actually looking at recently. Because I've read how many people in history use that stuff. It's a lot.
Oh yeah, this goes back to thousands and thousands of years. And also, David, just the sunlight would go ahead and take a lot of the good energy out of it. So
would take the good energy out. Oh, okay.
Yes. You want to go ahead and remove it before the sunlight comes up if you do charge them on a full moon.
Outstanding. I didn't know that. Thank you.
Don,
Laynee. I've been doing that wrong.
Don, Laynee, Dave, we had a good conversation. We're hitting the 2-hour mark. before we close, I'm gonna make sure we get up. We'll talk in post. We'll get another date set up for us because I definitely want to hear more about Laynee's crystals. Fact. But
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna.
Before
I really
we
want to
go,
get into that stuff.
what's a subject we want to touch next time that I can start doing my research on? Because you guys are a little more well vetted than me, then.
Oh my.
I don't know. Buy a spirit box and then let us know what your results are.
There you go.
I'm a little nervous of that because I might not hear.
Come on.
I just got a new XB7.
No, well, I say
just bought
nervous.
the upgraded one.
I say nervous because what if I buy this? Like, leave us alone. Like, God damn it.
No, then you'll be fine. Then you just talk back to them and tell them, no, I'm not leaving.
I'll harass them every day, all day long, nonstop.
Gotta get the SLS Connect Cam. I'm telling you, you're gonna like that when you start seeing like stick figures and
SLS
You know,
pretty
yeah,
cool.
and they start doing stuff like flipping you off on a stick figure. That's always fun.
Look, any response is a good one for me, you know? So.
I tell you the best, what maybe be a believer. I mean, I'm very skeptical, but I think we talked about this before. But the best footage I would ever had on, legit on the
On the X30? I mean, on the 360?
on
SLS
the Connect. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was the version with Bill Chappell, the SLS.
Yep, we've got
Oh,
that
yeah, I
one.
got that
too.
one.
Yeah. But I mean, sometimes I think they're legit, but other times you really better be cautious what it picks up. But this one was outstanding. I mean, it was swinging around like Tarzan, waving, leaving. Hey, come back down, wave goodbye, and then it swung up to the other side of the wall. It was unbelievable, and the first time ever, everything malfunctioned.
Oh yeah.
None of it.
Well, you know what?
happened.
Chapel's thing, now we own it, right? And a lot of the times, man, that thing malfunctions. It'll die in the middle of what you're doing.
Right, and then you got to reset it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was the best evidence I would have ever captured with that. I mean, really legit, where you like it was a human in front of me, and because I'm very skeptical when it comes to that. But I have both. I have that one, and I have the other. I have the originor where you'd have to set up with a laptop, the old version and stuff, and then I have the upgraded version with where a big tablet and
Yep, and that's our go-to one.
The other one I want to try to get my hands on is that Infrareddy out of the UK. He makes a couple of them. So I was looking into that, but we've done some overseas and everything's opposite of what we write.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work that well.
No.
And
Did
they're
you see
quite
that they had this
expensive.
new thing out? I don't know. I seem to buy everything, but I don't know if I'm going to buy it. But I think they used it just recently on Kindred Spirits, but it's called the Trip Line.
Oh
saw
yeah,
that,
we
yeah.
saw it too. I don't know.
That's going to take forever to even set up.
That's what Lainey and I were talking about. We were like, Jesus Christ! By the time we get it done, set up and stuff, then we'll be like, I know us, and we'd be like moving on to the second floor,
Right?
and then we'd be like, son of a bitch, we got to pick this whole thing up.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous.
It's kind of a good idea, but I mean, there's other things you could use instead. But,
Yeah, right. But I'm telling you, Adam, buy some of this equipment. Okay.
Right.
Forget about the Benedyne headphones. Buy some of this equipment, and try it. Go to it, and you can even be outside, man. Go to a purported location, go to St. Augustine. Go drive down there.
I have a bunch of paranormal society people in Florida anyway. They're all inviting me to their they do like these I don't want to say ghost hunts. They have people. They like tours, I guess.
or like
right?
tours and
Yeah.
stuff.
But I'm going to express them like when I do this, I don't want a tour. I don't need people around because I feel like I don't
No,
need.
well, that's what I'm saying. Is that go to the St. Augustine Lighthouse. Go drive up over there.
Have you been there before? I never have.
I've been to St. Augustine.
I haven't either.
I never
want to so bad.
When I went there, it was long before I even thought. Paranormal wasn't really in my mind at the time. I was going out there to party, hang out. You know what I mean? But I look back at how many places in my life in Florida I've been to that I now find out about these histories. So yeah, what I think I will do that. You know what? My aunt would be down to do that. My aunt would be really down to do that. In fact, I'm gonna corner her.
You don't need much, man. You can use your phone. You can videotape yourself doing it. You can, I'm
doing it. No, it's for me. Listen, anyone listening, I'm sorry if I find stuff and I don't happen to have a camera in hand. I'm selfish. I want to know first.
No, right. And I'm telling you, is that just go invest the $150 or $60, whatever the hell it is for the SB11, and go to pro-measure.
Okay. I have it here. I locked him in. I'm gonna be looking through that site. He has a lot of stuff on that site.
Yeah, I'm telling you, just go buy it. Okay.
And a millimeter.
It's the easiest one. It's the easiest way to do it. If you need to learn how to set it up, all you have to do is watch one of our videos. You'll see me set it up like at least 50 times. Is that and how to set it up?
Don, listen, I have your number. If I have a single problem, you're getting
no, right? I know. So. Is that and that's the whole thing. And let it ride, man.
Yeah.
Ask questions like you're asking a person that you just met for the first time. Ask those questions. You do a podcast, you know how to ask questions.
Yeah.
Just ask questions, okay, and experience it for yourself. Because I'd love to hear you come back on the show and tell us what you garnished.
You know what? I'm going to do it. Challenge accepted. I have to. I need to. You
can do it.
Needed. Yeah. I'm that person that when I see something mysterious, I keep saying this too. I'm the guy that dies in every movie first, right in the open, right away, straight away.
You're the security guy on Star Trek.
Yeah. Like, right. What is it? I got to see it right now.
I thought you were going to say Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah, that's where I thought you were going with that.
I wasn't sure.
Oh, that guy there, man. What a character.
Hey, have you guys tried I had it when it first came out, but now they're skyrocketing in price, for the original. But do you guys ever use the portal? It's basically the amp speaker with the reverb pedal.
Oh, no. I thought you were talking about this. We have a spirit portal.
Oh, yeah, we do have a spirit portal that we use, and we're pretty successful with it. It's almost so intense that we have to actually close it.
Explain to them what it is.
Yeah, I got to know what that is.
So I actually got online by this lady that is into a lot of this spirit stuff, and she actually guaranteed it would work. If not, I sent it back to her. It was maybe like $50 or whatever. So what it's supposed to
you get lucky with $50. Everything
I know,
is 500,
right?
1,000.
I got to send you the links. So there's it kind of goes back, the whole theory behind this little spirit portal, 2,000 years or whatever. It's got like copper that it uses, a different, God, what else?
I don't even know it's got all bunch of different crystal type elements
minerals,
and stuff, right? Yeah.
What it does, it opens a pathway for the spirit world. And every single time we take it out, we get a lot of evidence.
We do.
But it does mean that you can get demonic entities that come through. You can get anything that can come through. But what you have to do to put it away is you have to put it into like tinfoil. She kind of gives you this like little packet of tinfoil, and that closes it. And I really do believe in it. And I'm going to do some more research on that to get the exact crystals that she put into this spirit portal. So our next podcast, I can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Do you believe if you give the verbal command, like say for that, opening that portal, and if you bark the orders, hey, only the good spirits.
Oh, do you think anybody would listen? I mean, people don't listen now.
Right.
You think if I was a spirit, right. I'd be like, go to hell. Yeah. I ain't listening to you. Who the hell are you?
Yeah.
Tell me what
You're not the boss of me.
Yeah, you're not going to tell me what to do. I'll mess with you. You're in my environment, dude.
But when you do take the spirit portal out, energies change. Sometimes it can manipulate yourself too. So you can start acting a different way or feeling a different way, a lot of anger, or maybe you're very happy.
And we just started, utilizing that. And I will say this is that, when we stop in an area and we didn't really use it in the cemetery, did we? We used it in the chapel.
Use it in the cemetery, but you got to be very careful putting that spirit portal next to any of the devices like the millimeter or anything else, because it can break it, basically. Make it not work
Fry
anymore.
it out.
Yeah.
So it is kind of powerful. And we started using it about 2 years ago?
About 2 years ago.
Yeah. So, and sometimes when you're under the gun and you only have a certain amount of time,
you guys, the three of you, well, I mean, I'm sure there's a larger team when you guys get together, but with Dave's Echo too, and the experience of all three of you guys, you could have your own show and you call it the Midwest Paranormal Connection, right?
Yeah.
I really think when the weather starts improving where you guys are, you guys get together and just film everything. And I'll promote the hell out of it.
I said it before. is that and he can bring Echo too, and and we'll nice segue, right, Adam?
Yeah.
Is that no? So we, but yeah, I mean, I would welcome the opportunity to investigate with Dave, at least once until, we make him mad. And then he's like, I'll never do it again with those guys.
No. I'm the type, I've always been like this, even as an officer. I'm just me, I get along with others. I don't hold grudges, and my way's not perfect. I just because I maybe investigate a certain way doesn't mean I can't learn or pick up tips from other people. It's
and I bet you I'd lay you dollars to donuts that we investigate essentially the same way. I'm
going to be doing a documentary, right? I'm going to travel this country eventually. I'm going to be in your area. It's not even more likely, it's going to happen. And I'm going to have to have contingency for lawyers because some of the places I want to go investigate, as I look up, there's a lot of pushback. I don't know. I'm not a no person. I just go in, and then what happens, right? So I'm excited. I'm going to meet up with you guys eventually, come out there, and get on some investigation for you guys and record. It's going to take, I don't know. I run right at problems. If I see something mysterious, I'm dashing for it. I got to see it. Maybe it's a self-serving thing, but
I just picked up over the holidays, the Black Friday. I bought a system for the house and I bought a system for the Echo 2. The 16 channel DVR system I have in there is, analog, all BNC, connect.
Yeah, right.
But I bought another 16 channel, and I'm going to try to use both because I like the option of both. And this you would run, I forget what the cable, like computer cable, the Ethernet type cable with the ends, and you could do longer runs.
Yeah, much easier.
Yeah.
Much easier than doing BNC and rolling that out.
Right. So, yeah, I have bins and bins of 300, 250 feet, 200, 150 feet, cables of the BNC. But I purchased this, and I'm already figured out a plan in my mind. I just got to get to when the weather gets warm. So it's when I have dual DVRs, and then I'm going to dedicate 2 TV screens, for it, and then one's going to be the 4K, and they all have built-in speakers, and
Dave, that's
I'll
a
have
movie
that for the 4K video, night vision, and then the other one's going to be like if I put like the thermal imaging cameras out there, I have to connect that to BNC. If I'm going to connect it to the DVR system,
right?
And then there might be some close by cameras that is when I use the BNC.
Dave, that's ready for a movie now, right? It's already ready for a movie.
Yeah, I just got to do it. I had to buy a switch. I got to figure out how to put all this together and how to put it in the bin, and hopefully, I think I could do it. I got faith, but
like what I do, the University of YouTube.
I'm sorry?
The University of YouTube. You can learn anything on YouTube. Anything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. So that's going to be up and coming this spring.
Dawn, Laynee, Dave, we're calling it. We're going to do this again. In post here, we'll talk about our next one. For everyone listening, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you very much. Sorry about the connection problem I had earlier.
All good.
All right.